what we've been calling a postmortem, that is to say, a review of the previous episode, in this case, something called table reading, and to discuss your roles, your feelings about your roles, and maybe just some stuff about acting and performing that some viewers may be interested in hearing. So first I'll introduce everybody, although I see they're on screen, but in the box with Constantine Pappas is Mandy Leigh Thompson, and you have Megan Simard, give a little gesture, Steve, make a gesture, non-obscene, and I'm Richard Curtis, the author, playwright, and director, something I've never done before, and I hope it's not too evident that I haven't ever done it before, but it certainly gave me a big ego boost to be able to tell somebody, I'm giving you notes, because in the past, directors have given me notes, but I've never gotten even with them by giving them notes. So I hope my notes have improved the performances. And the first thing I want to ask or explain to the readers, first of all, I've talked about the genesis of some of these plays, what inspired me to write them. Table reading, which takes place in a university playwriting workshop. I attended one, and there was very little that happened there that inspired me, except that they gave me a purple cow doll as a souvenir, which I gave to a child on the plane because I didn't want to bring it home. I knew it wouldn't be loved. The only thing that happened was towards the end of the workshop, which, by the way, I thought was a very good one. I noticed one of the guest stars, producers from New York City, going into a conference room with the people who had sponsored the workshop. And I just wondered, what are they talking about in there? And out of that came the inspiration for table reading. So you can see that almost everything in that play had nothing to do with my experience of watching it, except for a quick appearance by a cow. For those watching who don't really know what a table reading is, maybe one of you could explain what is a table reading and what's the difference between a cold table reading and some other kind of table reading. What do you do at a table reading?
I mean, for sure. I mean, I guess I'll go. At its base, the table reading is to go through a project for the very first time and to really get to know what it's about. And I believe, if I remember correctly, in the cold table reading, it's where they're still looking at casting suggestions. They're still looking at different things, and they're seeing if you're a right fit for the role, one, and two, if they are happy, looking for maybe some of those micro changes they can make to make a better product. So that's what you would get in a cold reading, kind of like a 29-hour performance of a play.
And when in a cold reading, have you read the script before, or basically it's like, here's a play I've written, you be Hamlet, you be Ophelia, and just read your lines, and you have no idea what you're doing or what the play is about.
Yeah, super cold. You have no idea. You've not had a chance to warm up to the material.
Yeah, and the coldest of readings is like original material too. So you really have no idea what the plot is, what has been done with it before. You know, if it's a revival, then a cold reading is a little closer, like you have a little bit more of a chance to research other productions and the role, and even kind of guess what a casting director or director is looking at you for, because if you're aware of your type, you can be like, I bet they would probably want me to read this part. But if it's completely cold and it's original material, you really go into it having no idea, and you just have to be totally open-minded and trust the material and just kind of.
Somebody says you are playing the part of the mother. You have to become motherly, but you don't know who you're the mother of, and and how you're supposed to be motherly towards somebody, and then you learn that you're the most hated mother in history, like the poisoned your children or something like that.
Right, yeah, you could be a terrible mother. And that's why like it's really, if you're going into a cold reading, it's really important to not have any preconceived notions, because if you start to read it assuming that you're this like nurturing mother, and then suddenly halfway through the script you realize that you've kind of been doing it with a different tone the entire time, then you've dug yourself into a hole, and sometimes that can be a little difficult to get out of. So
any experiences you remember that, you know, that would kind of exemplify what Megan has just described?
I don't know. I actually love cold readings. I don't know. I know a lot of actors who hate them, but I love it because I kind of just like let the words speak for themselves and let the script take me someplace. And that can be really, really fun because it's a lot of play.
Yeah.
I've definitely No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think I might have hit one of those moments for one of your plays, Richard, in the beginning when we first started out. Megan and I were running through some lines, and I don't remember which one it was. I think it was either Driven, which is later on in the series.
It was probably Trash Talk.
Yes, it was Trash Talk.
Yeah, because that was the first one.
Trash Talk is gonna
just let me interrupt. Trash Talk is a play that is coming up. Yeah, it hasn't been performed, but it's about two neighbors who meet inadvertently in the trash room of an apartment building. So what was it in the reading that you screwed up, or you feel you screwed up?
Without, I don't want to give any spoilers, so I'll try it. I thought he was one type of person, and then page 6 came around, and I found out he was a completely different kind of person. And we were like halfway through the reading, and I'm like, wait, man, like, because the guy, you can't tell if the guy's going to be a creep or not. And I'll let the audience listen in a couple of weeks for that. By the way, episode 4 is now out. Oh no, 3 is
where
out. Are we now?
4.
I was trying to do a plug.
What day is it?
On Sunday.
What's that?
Table reading is number 4. Can you hear me? I'm having.
Yeah, we heard you. Yep.
I've just been told that my internet is unstable, and I think it means that I'm somehow unstable. So
no.
But in number 4, table reading, we're discussing that one, which will be released on Sunday.
Right.
Trash Talk is down the road somewhat. I don't exactly know when. So that's a cold table reading, but in a table reading in which you've had a chance to read the script and study the script and get some sense of who you are and what your relationship is with the other actors, how does that go? In the middle of it, does a director say, no, you've got to be more this, or you've got to be more that?
Go ahead, Mandy.
I love table reading. Table readings are probably my favorite part of the rehearsal process, because you also get to do what we call table work. And you get to take a lot of notes. And so usually most directors I work with, when we do a table reading, we read the whole thing through, or we go scene by scene, and then we take a break and they'll give us notes. But I also really like it because in my opinion, it's the best time to, like Megan was saying before, to really play with a bunch of different variations on how to do a scene, how to do a certain character. So it's really a good chance to explore and kind of pick and choose where you want to go with the character.
Yeah.
Right.
And in a table read where you have material ahead of time, there's also the expectation that you've already done a lot of your homework, and everybody involved in the process has already done a lot of their homework and has at least like a skeleton of what their character is supposed to be. But the cool thing about it is that it's also the first time you're really hearing any of the other actors do their characters. And so
Right.
a lot of times you end up making a lot of improv or more informed decisions based on what they're doing. And it's
Right.
really exciting because it's really the first time you start to kind of feel like the flesh and like the meaty parts of the play come together, as opposed to just what you've been hearing in your head. So
Well, speaking as an author, I've been involved in a couple of table readings, including one that Megan was in, and it was awful for me. It was boring. I can't imagine what did I write, that caused the director to think this could be performed. The actors, like, who are you? Have you been in anything? Do I know who you are? Can I hear your voice? I think you're doing it the wrong way. This is the way I would have done it. It was terrible, and the way it came together from this boring, awful table reading to what I have to tell you was a brilliant performance where the actors not only got to know each other, but got to know each other to a point where they were addressing each other not by the actors' names, but by the names of their characters. And that's when I knew that some sort of magic transformation had occurred, and they not only stepped out of their characters, but had stepped into each other's characters as well. The table reading, what inspired this, going back to the workshop, was this idea that if you're a producer, let's say at a workshop at a college, that some playwright can just walk up to you and collar you and say, read my play, have you read my play? Or how come you didn't like my play? And it's kind of what I call the producer's nightmare. And that was the original title of table reading. As a literary agent, I'm always wary of being cornered at a cocktail party by somebody who basically says, I've written a book. And you would think, oh, really? That's so exciting. It's like, excuse me, I've got to get a drink. Or I have to go to the bathroom, and I lock myself in until that person goes away. So in this producer's nightmare, these producers are guests at this workshop, and an actor is aggrieved, a playwright is aggrieved that his play has not been read. So I called it the producer's nightmare, and it reminded me of a famous play called The Actor's Nightmare. Have any of you read that play?
No.
It's really a must, because it's literally, this actor has a dream that he's a non-actor, and he's thrust on the stage and told to perform, and he doesn't have any idea what the play is or what he's supposed to do or who he's supposed to be, and he's able only to get his cues from what's being said to him, so that he says, oh, I guess I'm supposed to be this because that's what she said to me on the stage. And it's really an absolute classic. So my question to you is, have you had nightmarish experience? Have you forgotten lines? Have you begun speaking the word a different play? Or did the actor you were on stage with forget his or her lines and you had to improvise? I'd love to hear those stories.
Oh man, how much time do we have?
Yeah, who wants to go first?
Okay, so you just described all of our nightmares
Yeah.
in kind of one go. I know she's had it.
I
I've
have it.
definitely had it.
I have it. I dream that all the time. I actually have the actor's nightmare all the time, and it's always in a different scenario. It's a different show that I've performed in usually, but like years ago, and then I have to go on stage in a half hour, and I haven't rehearsed at all, and yeah, so that is a very common dream, I'd say, for all actors to have.
So if you feel you haven't rehearsed at all, and your opening line comes, and you forget it, you blow it, how do you start? Because what I hear from actors is that once they've spoken one or two lines, it begins to come automatically. But until then, how do you get up for it?
Yeah, I've always felt like if you are at a point where you're on stage and you completely blank, then you're probably under rehearsed, because normally they do come automatically because they're in your body and they're in the action in the moment.
Oh, yeah, it's all muscle memory.
Yeah, exactly. And so like if you get to the point, unless like something really, I don't know, I don't think I've ever gotten to that point where I've been like really prepared, you know. But I will say Mandy and I have definitely done some live improv before in the past together, and there are no prepared lines for that. And we've definitely been in a couple of situations where we're having a blast on stage, but the audience is not having it.
No.
And it is a horrible feeling to know that you're bombing on stage. It is just, it's a rite of passage. Every actor has to feel that way, but it's brutal.
I will say though, those experiences are vital for actors to go through, because I feel like Megan and I have been through the trenches and we can survive anything now. Like I feel like we're not scared of anything now because we've been through that. So
So if, let's just say an actor drops a line, or maybe even worse, jumps a scene, you know, they jump not one line, but like to a whole block of dialogue. How do you pick each other up? How do you ad lib and kind of get us back in there and maybe backtrack so that the audience finally learns what they were supposed to learn when you drop 15 lines?
Yeah, I think your brain kind of goes into hyperspeed when something like that happens, and you do like a very quick calculation of, okay, what do we skip? How important is it? Do we have to go back? And then how do we get there? And if it's kind of not important to the scene or the story, you just move on and you drop it and forget about it and you talk about it later, make sure it doesn't happen again. But if it is important to the story, then as a scene partner, it's your job to start to cue the person that dropped their lines and introduce those topics so they can kind of like work their way back around. And it can be bumpy, but you can get there. But it is crazy how fast the brain goes into hyperdrive.
oh yeah.
And you have to make those decisions like, okay, how do we fix this right now?
I think that's where improv training really comes
I
in
was going
handy
to say,
too.
obviously, if you're improv, if you are trained in improv, then you can ad lib a lot more easily and quickly than if you're a classic Shakespearean actor and your partner basically blows it, and you have to really you're sweating flop sweat waiting for them to find the trail back. Steve, you had a couple of thoughts about her?
What's that?
You had some experiences?
Oh, many. Most of my experiences come with music performance though, and it would be anything from, well, the dreams themselves would be, you know, getting on stage in a play and same thing, you know, no idea what the play is. I'm, you know, not dressed, like things like that. One in particular, which I wasn't sure if I wanted to share because it contains a curse word. So earmuffs, everybody. I was doing national anthems for these larger shows. Larger to me at the time was, you know, 2,000 to 5,000 people, and they're at these outdoor parks. And I always, you know, no matter what, you sang this 30-second song a million times, but it's still like, do I know the words? You know, right when you take your first breath. There were two times. One, I forgot that I wasn't singing the anthem because the children's choir before me already sang it. So I was supposed to sing God Bless America. So I stopped and I was like, in front of all these people. But the other dream, which is where the curse word comes in, is that I forgot the word land of the free. And I said land of the fuck. And, you know, spotlight on you. And I held the note out like the whole time. And then I hit the K. And I looked down and I saw the whole crowd like, and to this day, anytime I sing the national anthem, I have to like, it's like this weird, like dimensional shift in my brain. It's like, did I say free? Am I singing free right now? Like, it's like this weird thing. So that's like the biggest, it's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing.
When you get like a word in your head and you know it's the wrong word, but you thought it and you're like, great, now I thought it and now I'm going to say it.
Yep.
You were traumatized. Oh my goodness.
Well, I'm sure when you guys have blown a line or made that kind of mistake, the director has been waiting for you when you step off stage with a frown on his face, to say the least. I mean, as an author, you know, I have problems with actors improvising lines that I did not write. I feel very attached to them, but I find that when they stumble over them several times, or when they improvise a line that's better than what I wrote, I have no hesitation in going back and saying, what they said is better than what I said and changing it. But until then, there's great mortification. Anyway, thank you, everybody. We have been speaking to Mandy Leigh Thompson, Constantine Pappas, Steve Mecca, Megan Simard. I'm Richard Curtis. And we look forward to seeing you next week. I think the play after this one is called As I Lay Peeing.
Yes, and the trailer will come right after this.
Right. And that one is, I think it's Mandy and Constantine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will leave you with that provocative title. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, everybody.
Can't wait.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Was it a simple medical procedure?
Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna grab hold of that tube, and out comes my bladder, out comes my kidneys, out comes my intestines, out comes my stomach, my heart, my lungs, my goddamn kishkas. That's what's gonna happen.
Or was it Robert Tandry's descent into the jaws of hell?
Okay, let's get over with it. They're gonna put me under, right?
For this? Goodness no. It's done without anesthesia. It's just a moment's discomfort.
A moment's discomfort means the torment of hell. Couldn't you give me just a little whiff of gas to put me to sleep for 5 minutes?
I'm afraid not. Of course, if you're really worried about pain, I suppose we could administer a local.
Find out this week on the next episode of Tales from the Creepery. Get creeped out at thecreepery.com.